I think we can copy-paste TikTok, and they have kind of bridged the gap between being social, being entertained, but actually driving sales.
We're joined by Andreas from Pentaleap and Amaryllis from BCG. Welcome both.
What do you think are still the biggest creative blind spots for brands when they're thinking about retail media?
I think for brands and retailers, there is currently another very pressing problem they have. So I know that if you run a big walled garden like Zalando, for example, you can actually run a full funnel game. But we have now probably more than 200 retail media networks, and the problem brands experience and retailers alike is the fragmentation with all those little walled gardens, everyone trying to sell you on ads. So if you are a retailer, you're trying to sell to brands that are overwhelmed with the complexity, and they need to handle dozens of those same conversations. And if you are a brand, it's very hard to figure out how to scale this up across the many retailers. So my point is, I think moving up in the funnel towards creative for a mature platform like Zalando or Amazon makes total sense, but the majority of the retail media market hasn't figured out the basics yet. So I think we need to find a solution for the fragmentation problem first, and then a few very big walled gardens, an Amazon and Walmart, and maybe category leaders like a Home Depot or Zalando in fashion, they can play that game upper in the funnel and bring creative into retail media.
Amaryllis?
Yes, I think this fragmentation that you're talking about is very real. Very often both brands and retailers are actually not creating with the channel in mind. So they're actually cascading whatever creatives they would have for other channels also to retail media. And I think not starting with the channel first mentality is, I would say, the biggest spot. And I think it has to do a lot with the fragmentation. And then I think for the retailers, as you correctly said, most of them are trying to actually capture the full funnel. So both telling stories, but also driving performance, which is not an obvious creative endeavor.
And how can they use technology and automation going forward in order to enhance and enable creativity rather than limiting it?
I think we can copy-paste TikTok. I think, in my opinion, they are the only ones who have truly figured that out.
Really?
Because it's a platform that is about entertainment, it's about social interactions, and they have kind of bridged the gap between being social, being entertained, but actually driving sales. So they transformed the old, they merged an affiliate model with what influencers do and brought those things together. So I think all the things we would think about when it comes to creative and commerce, they have nailed that on their platform. And TikTok Shop, it's a retail media platform, and it's a very powerful one. So I think they are the only ones who truly got that right at this point of time.
Andreas, there's been so much talk about the promise and the potential of retail media. It's hyped in a huge way, and yet you recently pointed out that it hasn't actually met the hype yet. It hasn't met expectations. Why is that?
It started probably all in like 10 years, 11 years ago when Amazon got into the game, and they silently scaled up their revenue, and retailers said, we're not interested, we are not Amazon, we are not advertising. Like at some point when they were heading towards a 50 billion in ad revenue, everyone realized, oh damn, it's a competitive disadvantage we have here, so we have to get into it. And then it was seen as the big gold mine. Now we just replicate that exact same business model, and we will bring all the cash in. What we are seeing today is that many companies are getting no more than the same trade budgets, but they have to make a major effort. And the reason is, again, fragmentation. If you are Amazon, there's no way around you. So a brand needs to spend on Amazon. If you are not Amazon, it's a tedious work you have to do to get some reach. So we went from mass media TV into hyper fragmentation, and we somehow need to solve that problem. So the reasons why retail media hasn't fully lived up to the expectations is the complexity due to the fragmentation, and we can solve this by heading towards a more ad network or programmatic-like approach where brands put money into one platform and they spend it across a multitude of retailers. Again, a Zalando is a fashion leader, they can do that. A Home Depot in the US can do that, but the second-tier retailers, they will not succeed that way.
Yeah, it's a tough market.
On top of what you said, I think the miss of like the predictions is less so a reflection of retail media and its potential, and much more connected to the broader macroeconomic environment where media inflation is a given. A lot of the CMOs have been struggling to actually scale budgets, but I still think retail media is covering a real gap and actually adding lots of value in the market. So I'm very, very hopeful and optimistic about the future. And with technology kicking in and all its tailwinds, I believe retail media is going to skyrocket, or is going to grow much more quickly over the coming years.
Still very much the future. Well, Andreas, Amaryllis, thanks so much for joining us here in Cannes.
Thank you so much.